Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition. Lottie, you got your mic muted.
How's that?
There, that's better.
That's better. Good.
And as usual, Lottie's with us, and Doug is doing swing shifts right now, so he won't be with us for this week or next week. He should be back the following week, but we've got Marcus joining us tonight, who's no stranger to our channel. Marcus from Idaho Quadcopter. He's actually going to be very instrumental in part of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I figured it'd be good to invite him in, and together we kind of worked together on an issue that he had, and we'll be discussing that as well. So how's everybody doing tonight? Marcus?
Doing very well, Lauren. I actually did get out and fly today, and I was just telling Lonnie it was so cold my fingers froze. Was flying the FEMI X8 SE out at Lucky Peak Reservoir.
Oh, yeah. How cold was it there?
Well, so it was like in the mid-30s Fahrenheit, but there was also about a 15-mile-an-hour wind. So yeah, definitely. That brought that temperature down, and man, oh man, there's only so much you can do with your fingers. You can put gloves on, but eventually you have to take them off when you're messing around with the touchscreen.
Hey, mid-30s is a heat wave compared to what we've been having lately.
Yeah.
Well, we've been having some pretty bad wind here.
Yeah.
So it's been making
How's
some
Lonnie
pretty
tonight?
nice. What's that?
I said, how's Lonnie tonight?
Lonnie's good. Lonnie's good. I'm glad the winds died down. The snow stopped. I'm tired of shoveling the snow already. So I'm ready for summer.
Cool.
I like it.
No offense, but I think you're kind of rushing the gun on that one a little bit. So.
Well, I don't think I have a say either. So.
No, that's true. That's true. Talk to the big guy.
Yep. Yep.
Anyways, tonight we're going to be talking about a couple of different things. First of all, let's talk about the new Mini 2. We're not going to get into doing a spec review and all of that wonderful stuff. There's 1,000 videos out there, and I don't want to flog a dead horse. So, check out some good reputable YouTube channels like Marcus's if you want that information. And yeah, just whoop, there.
Something like that.
Everything's always backwards on here,
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, check out Idaho Quadcopter. He's got some good videos on that, so check his out. But anyway, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Overall, it is a pretty impressive drone. They've made some nice changes. There's a little bit of a dark side, though, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And that dark side is that there's been a few incidences with the Mini 2, and what firmware have you got in, Marcus?
Oh gosh, I updated it the day the very first update. So 0.001, I believe.
No, that's a controller. You must have 0340.
You're talking about in the drone?
Yeah.
Wow. Not having the drone here to even check it, I don't know, Lauren.
Okay, but anyways, yeah. They did a firmware update and plus an app update, and the controller, the firmware, basically 02.00.1101, and then the app version is 1.2.0, and that thanks, Lottie. There's been a few people that have had issues, and Marcus was one of those. And part of what it was getting a little bit of unexpected things happening. And the firmware that they update that they did to the controller, which was great before that latest firmware update to the controller, 11.00. But they did that update so that controller could be used with either the Mini 2 or the Mavic Air 2. And the problem is that they got a little bit of an unexpected bug that they weren't, well, it was unexpected. So you'll notice that today, to rectify some of the issues that people were having, they came out with a new firmware for the Mavic Air 2. And Mavic Air 2, since that update, there was a lot of people getting strong interference messages, signals. We're getting that even though the drone was only 3 or 4 feet away. And so they were getting a lot of issues with that. I suspect normally when DJI comes out with a new product, they will come out with their first firmware update 4 to 6 weeks after the release. And that is because they want all the known bugs reported so that they can address those in the first firmware update. And then after that, subsequent updates normally include improvements and stuff. But I honestly think we're going to see an update prior to the 4 to 6 weeks because of some issues people are having with the Mini 2. So we'll have to wait and see, of course. Yeah, so the new firmware for the Air 2 is now 4.60. And again, like I say, that was released today. And that they don't say it, but that is because of the issues that the controller update caused. So, but either way, update the firmware on everything.
Yeah.
And also, since that firmware update for the app, there's people getting various issues with the Mini 1 using the Fly app. So again, like I say, I suspect we're going to see another update for either firmware or an app update. Not sure which one it's going to be, but
that's kind of un-DJI like. I mean, usually they test things enough that they're pretty solid when they put them out there. So this is an interesting development.
well,
Okay.
yeah, I got to bite my tongue on that. I'm sorry. But that being said, we're going to play a bit of Marcus's clip, and hopefully he can talk us through this a little bit. We'll kind of discuss it a little bit after he has walked us through this a little bit. Whenever you want, Marcus, I can run this.
Cue it up. Let's roll.
Oh, I guess I got to hit share screen, don't I? Duh.
I promise I'll be entertaining.
Yeah. It's my first day on the job, so sue me. So
yeah, so at this point in the flight, I had just turned around and was heading back to where I'm at. And right here, you see the drone tilt forward. And I thought, well, maybe it's just tilting into the wind. That might be part of their algorithm to get it to handle wind better. But you'll see here pretty quickly, I can tell that isn't the issue. As you can see, it starts tilting off to the left here, and then we get that wind warning, and then it really tilts over. So at this point, I knew something was wrong, was clearly not normal, and was kind of going through the checklist in my head of how to regain control. So the next thing I thought was sport mode. So I threw it into sport mode saying, well, shoot, I was thinking it was a wind event, probably. Let's see if we can power out of this. And as you can see, you couldn't. It really went wild there. And if you look at the battery meter there, you can see it. It's really depleting battery quickly. The minutes left. So those motors must have really been spun up, is my assumption there. And then I figured, you know what? Why not throw it into return to home and see what happens? About this point, I kind of thought, you know what? We're going to lose a drone here. I just thought, well, it's not going to recover. But now you can see at the top it says ascending and returning, and it slowly regained control here, and went back up and came home, and I was relieved of that. I will say this: it certainly was nothing that the pilot did, that's for sure. But I was glad to get the drone back.
Yeah, and that was definitely an interesting flight. Marcus and I went over the flight logs on that, and near as we can figure, what initially triggered it, or appears to trigger it, is he must have hit a wind vortex. Because where he was in that canyon, Marcus, you can explain?
Yeah, so where I was at in the canyon is right at a bend. So if you think about, the Venturi effect of the wind coming through that canyon, I think, and this is pure speculation on my part, I don't really know, but it seems plausible. And then it hits that bend and creates an eddy, just like you would see at a stream or something, a vortex. And I believe that may be what happened to the drone.
Yeah, and I recommended to Marcus that he send the drone back, and part of it, the reason for that was because of some error message that he got that briefly flashed on the screen, but when you look on the log, actually lasted quite a long time. There's just about a close to a 30-second loss of compass, and yet before his flight, Marcus had done a compass calibration. So, like, it's not because the compass wasn't calibrated, but so really not a good thing.
Yeah, there were a number of compass errors, weren't there, Lauren?
Yeah.
And that is really kind of odd as well. But I don't know. Could that just be because it was spinning out of control? I guess that's for DJI to tell us, huh?
Yeah. I could see it if it was like doing 360s real fast, but the yaw rate wasn't that extreme. Now the roll rate was pretty significant, but that really shouldn't affect the compass. At least I don't think so.
Well, so what else? The other thing that I thought was interesting, Lauren, and you pointed out that you were able to model it in 3D, and it was essentially a corkscrew.
Yeah,
going down, and it was descending. It went down, I mean, a lot, like over 100 meters. It lost a ton of altitude.
Yeah. So, and that's why we're kind of thinking that it was a wind vortex that created that, because those motors were working hard, and yet it was going down.
Well, and the motors, I mean, that was interesting to look at that battery meter where it tells you the minutes of battery left, and you're just watching that number get smaller and smaller, and it was a fresh battery, right? Yeah. But then as soon as it recovered and the motors weren't working as hard, that number kind of went back and went up again and got bigger.
Yeah. So now, are we saying that the Mini 2 is a bad drone? Absolutely not. Any of that stuff can easily be fixed with a firmware upgrade. So, but just be cautious. I don't know if I mentioned it already during the show here. I did it pre-show, but I came across another video today where the guy basically had the same sort of symptoms, and I'm referring to the error messages. They appeared just about exactly at the same interval as Marcus had on his. But his was kind of a little bit unique and different because he didn't have enough battery power to make it back. So he put it down in a location where he could go and pick up the drone. A jogger came along and picked up the drone for him and moved it about 300 meters away.
Oh, wow.
Fortunately, he was able to use his Find My Drone to see where his drone went. But yeah, so there was a little bit of a chuckle over that one, but yeah. And he was out about, what was it? Just about a mile, about 5,200 feet, and not in a place where there should have been any signal problems or anything like that. But all of a sudden, like say, his error messages came up on the screen exactly in the same sequence that yours did. So curious about that.
That's interesting. Listen, on the positive side of it, and this really is a positive, as the drone was going down into the canyon and losing control, I had perfect FPV the whole time. In other words, I would have had a perfect view of the crash. But no, that it really is saying something about that OcuSync, because it was well below the canyon walls, and I still had a really good connection.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have had that with the original Mini.
No,
So, yep, definitely. And like I say, it's just be careful until the next firmware update. Normally, like I say, after release is usually 4 to 6 weeks. But I suspect, if this becomes a prevalent problem, then I suspect we might see them a little bit sooner. So, Mr. Lonnie.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to give us a little bit of info? We're trying something new this week, folks.
Don't fall off your chairs, folks. Hit it, Lord.
Anyway, yeah, we're trying something new this week, and Doug's going to be included on it when he gets back in a couple of weeks. But we're trying a new little segment here tonight. So.
Welcome, everybody. This is Lonnie's Loft. Thanks, Lord. Anyway, a couple of things I just wanted to remind everybody about. We're in the winter months here. Weather's been cold, windy. So just a friendly reminder, when you guys are out flying and stuff like that, make sure you keep your batteries warm. Very, very important. And secondly, make sure that your drone that you're flying is designed for the temperatures you're flying in, because they do vary based on your drone. Just check the specs on them. And, if it's too cold, obviously you're not going to have good outcome at the end, right? And the third thing I want to bring up was I'd like if everybody could just give a quick post in the group, and maybe we'll bring this up and we'll talk about it in the next show or the next one after. I'm just looking for what is everybody using for editing of photos and video, professionally, and just like quick edits, like for just recreational people, nothing professional. But if you want to take a picture of something out in the wilderness or whatever and send it to your parents or your kids or whatever, like what are you using for quick edits as well as videos as well? So if you could post them up, then we'll have we can have something to talk about, and we can share that information with other pilots as well. And that's it from Lonnie's Loft.
Thanks, Lonnie. And
I need a closure. I need a closure video.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Outro.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I can play it back.
Oh boy.
Oh, Lonnie said I have too much time on my hands.
Hey, so Lonnie, kind of on the point of what you were discussing there, and we were talking about earlier, flying in cold weather and your fingers. I've seen in fact, I know DJI has those kind of gloves with the fingertips that you can kind of flip them up.
Yeah.
Have you guys tried those?
I haven't tried it. Yeah, you can buy them in lots of places here.
Yeah, I've got a
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
I need to get some.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus,
Lauren, send Marcus a pair of gloves.
okay. Plus, you could also get one that your hands fit into that covers your controller and everything. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of that because, like, they've got kind of a clear, what is it? Kind of a clear vinyl, so that you can see your controller. But everybody that I've talked to said that, yeah, it's good until about -5, and then after that, then it's pretty easy to break that window. So
Oh, that makes sense.
yeah,
I don't know. I think even in the cold weather, I like to have my fingers and hands on something. Like, I don't want anything between my hands and the controller. I want to be touching the controller.
yep. And also, yeah, Lottie brings up a good point because it's a fairly common question that we get about, like, what are you using to edit your photos or your videos and stuff like that, and maybe we'll add that information to the web page. Just a reminder, if you haven't checked out our web page, go to announcements, and the address to the web page is there. And somebody made the comment earlier this week that they seen it for the first time, and they said there's good information there. Well, that's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good information there.
Yeah, I'm happy that people are getting some use out of it. Unfortunately, Ian's no longer in the group. He was our webmaster. He will be joining back. He's been kind of waylaid with other stuff right now, so he figured that it's best to just kind of step aside because he had just way too much stuff on his plate. So I can't do that cross-platform. Darn. Anyway, DeMarco asked, did those firmware issues affect the smart controllers too? To be honest, there we go. To be honest, they shouldn't, but it's been too cold for me to even try it out lately. Either too cold or too windy. So I can't answer from experience. Anyway, DeMarco asked, did those firmware issues affect the smart controllers? Who's got the echo?
Hang on, that was me. Just a second. Sorry about that. I clicked on Facebook, and there you go.
Yeah. And yeah, he was saying the Mavic Air 2, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I understand what you meant, but like I say, I haven't flown in almost a week and a half now because up here the temperature has just been too cold or too windy. So I think
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I did sneak out a couple of days there, but that was long before these latest firmware updates. So I honestly can't answer that.
Yes, and I've seen your video from Remembrance Day. Very well done, sir.
Oh, thank you.
That was amazing. Yeah, that was really nice, Lauren.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed it, but right at the end where I kind of go in on a cross.
Yeah.
Every year I do a video for that lady. She's a very, very good friend of mine, and that cross that I focus in on is actually her son. So, yeah, it's for a friend of mine, Anita, and I'm very honored to be doing that for. Well, it's either pictures or videos. I've been doing it now for, well, let's see, ever since the day he died. So that would have been about 8 or 9 years ago. So, but
yeah, I love the scene with the flagpoles and waving in the wind. That was really
good. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I like to mess around a little bit, and I'm hoping that weather smartens up. I was planning on going out tomorrow, but unfortunately, I've got to deal with the hospital, so that kind of puts a stick in the mud for me. But It is what it is. So
Marcus, you got to go flying for both of us.
Yeah.
there you go.
You know what? The reason I went flying today is because tomorrow it's supposed to snow all day. So yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, I got to work, so
Work? What is this work you speak of?
Yeah. Don't swear like that.
oh, great.
Just remember, Lonnie, as they say, the first 100 years are the hardest.
Well, I don't think I can handle retirement. You guys are way too busy for me.
Well, actually, it's funny because I'm busier now than when I was working.
90% of retired people say the exact same thing.
No, it's true. It
I
really
know.
is.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, Marcus, you fly almost every day, if at all possible, don't you?
I try to, yeah. You know, the only thing that's going to stop me is weather, and obviously, if you have something else going on that you just can't do it. But yeah, I do. I try and fly every day, and I think that is kind of key to keeping your skills up and keeping things going.
Absolutely.
Unless, of course, you have to go race your Corvette.
That's very, very true, and that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's about it for the show tonight. Once again, as usual, thanks for being here, Lonnie, and special thanks to our special guest, Marcus Crawford from Idaho Quadcopter. As I said, check out his channel. He gets out quite a few videos a week now, isn't it? Lately.
Yeah, I try and get 2 to 3 out a week, Lauren.
Yeah. So he's got really good information, and it's not just DJI that he posts videos and stuff on. So lots of good information there.
In other words, I fly some real junk.
Hey, everybody's got to start somewhere, so that's good information for those people. So
Yeah.
anyways, in the meantime and in between time, that's another edition. Thanks for dropping by, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.